Hello guys and welcome to new video of your Python and API development course. In this video, we will use Pymongo Python module to set up our database, basically to set up the flow that we can store the data in our database as we want it to be stored. So let's get into the video. First, I'll run my virtual environment, activate my virtual environment. I'll run my server and check if everything's working fine. So let's wait for the application startup to be completed. Now I'll open my local host and yeah, so everything is working fine. Now let us get into the code. So first thing first, what we will be using is a Pymongo module to use MongoDB as our database and to connect our backend with the database or our server with the database. We will be using Pymongo module. So first I'll install it with install Pymongo. Okay. So let me first install Pymongo, and do remember to activate your virtual environment. So it will install Pymongo. It's collecting Pymongo, and okay. So it is collecting the installed packages, and it has successfully installed Pymongo. What I'll do is I'll not define my database in the same file as my endpoints are defined. To make the code more modular, what I'll do is I'll make new file and I'll name it. So because our app is URL shortener, so I'll make it database.py, because this will contain our database connection and functions to connect to our database. So what I'll do is first here from Pymongo I will import client. Okay, client, right? And then what I'll do is I'll define a string to connect to my database. So how we will connect our server to our databases using the in MongoDB using the connection string that we have. So when we connected our Mongo Compass with our database, we used a connection string this. So what I can do is I can click edit the connection string, confirm, and I'll use this string to, so I'll see that this string is connecting to my database or not. So yeah, it's connecting. Yeah, so it has connected me with my database. So what I'll do is I'll use this string here, and then what I'll do is I will define my DB. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll say let's name the DB whatever we want. Maybe let's say Mongo DB is equals to Mongo client, and in this class Mongo client, I need to pass this connection string. So I'll pass this connection string here. Then what I can do is I can define my own database. So my database will be this MongoDB dot the name of the database. So what I want my database to be named. So my database should be named as URL shortener. Okay, my bad. And I need to have collections in which my data will be stored. So I'll show you so let's see, like this admin, I have a database. It's so these all are the databases, right? And in this I have collections like this US2024. I have two collections, email and resume. Similarly, error 404, I have one collection which is EE block. Similarly, I have different databases, and in them I have different collections. In these collection, data is stored. So now I need to define my collection. So let's define my collection. collection should be database dot, and then I can say, let's name it. So we will, what we'll be storing in this collection. So I'll be storing the unique URL and the URL that is the original URL. So I'll make the database name as URLs. Okay, so now this would be my collection. Now I need to define methods to find. Now I need to define methods to find this, connect to this database and find the data in the database. Also to insert the data in the database. So what I'll do is I will say, if I will say collection dot, you can see I have different method here, like so many methods, right? To connect to my database, update, insert, and everything. So now let's insert one document in our database. So I've already told you that MongoDB is a object-oriented database, so it stores data in key value pair. So let's just start with the dummy data. What will be our data? So my data would be user ID. Okay, so I will have a user ID so that I can identify each and every user and their URLs. So I'll have a user ID. Let's define it whatever we want. Then what I can have in my document is a special key. So I'll name it special key. Now what this special key will do is, this special key will be added after our base URL, and whenever someone tries to get to this URL, we will redirect it to the original URL. So let's define the special key as 9AI, and then I can define the original URL. So I'll just name it URL, and then here let's say 9AI dot in. Okay, now this is my documentation. I need to add this in my database. So what I can say is collection dot insert one, because I am only inserting one document, and insert this document. Okay, now I'll save this database.py and I'll run this database.py. Okay, so it's saved. Now how to run a Python file? I'll write Python, then file name database.py. Okay, and I'll press enter. So it's running, and it's executed because nothing is printed here. So let's check our database, if our database has been updated with new strings or not. Let's refresh my database. You can see a new URL shortener database has been created, and in it URLs collection has been created. And if I open this URLs connection, you can see any document here. Yeah, so you can see it has an underscore ID object ID, which is a special ID provided by MongoDB. It has a user ID, it has a special key, and it has URL. So now let me just explain you how we will do this particular thing. So what I'm planning to do is, or what we will do is, we will define a get request. Okay, we'll define a get request, and this get request would be our base URL. So right now, what is our base URL? So let me just comment out so that, okay, so now right now, what is our base URL? Our base URL is this, our local host. Okay, this base URL, and ahead of this will be a special key. Okay, so now whenever anyone would initiate a get request to this particular link or this particular endpoint, we will identify this special key. Now, what will we do is, we will identify this special key, we will go to our database, we will check that where is the special key we can find, and if we find the special key, then what we will do is, we will redirect this endpoint to this URL. So that's how we are planning to basically implement our own special key based URLs which would be redirect to original URLs. Okay. So now what I need to do is so what I can do is I want to store this special key and the original URL in the database. So here it is. Okay. Now what I can do is I can say that let's just don't use user ID even here, because we just need two things. We need a special key and we need a URL. So this user ID is also not needed. We need a special key and we need only the URL. Okay. Now what we want to do is we need to define a particular method where we can use this. One more thing we can do is we can fetch a document. How we can fetch a document? Let's just see. Let's print this document, getting it from database itself. What I'll write is collection dot find. Okay, so I want to find only one. So what I'll do is I'll find and I'll put a query in it. What is a query? So basically a query is particular part of your document, that anything you want to identify from your document, which is basically, if you are using find one, should be special. So like a special key, we would not col- collapse two special key. We would not add same special key for two different URLs. So our special key would be unique. So what I can do is I can say that find a document which has a special key as 9AI. Okay. And if you find it, then print it. Okay. So now I'll save this and I'll run the file again. So you can see here the document has been printed. It has printed the ID, it has printed the user ID, it has printed the special key, and it has printed the URL that we need to be redirected on. So now we won't be using this user ID, so I'll just delete it from my database. What I can do is I can edit, and I can delete this particular key value pair, and I'll update my database because I need only special key and URL to be redirected on. So now we will use this to identify the special key and the URL that we want to redirect on, and we will use this to insert. But this is just implemented here. We need to be make it more modular, so we will implement it in a form of a class. So what I can do is I can define a class, namely URLs here, which will take self and a MongoDB collection object, which is this, right? So I can say MongoDB collection object. Okay. And then what I can say this. Okay. So I don't want to be doing it here. What I can do is I can say def init. Okay. And I need to pass here self and this MongoDB collection object. These both need to be passed whenever we define our class. Okay. And then what I can say is that this is my database, right? So self dot db should be equal to MongoDB collection object. So my self, so now I can use this self.db in my class functions. So I need two functions here. First I need to insert. So define insert URL. Okay. What it will need is it will need self, and what it needs is it needs a special key, and it needs a original URL to be redirected on. Right? Now, first thing first, our special key is always unique. So if someone tries to add a special key again, we need to raise an error, right? So like same special key, we can say we will just return false from here. If a insert is successful, we will return true. If a return is unsuccessful, we will return false. So if like I have added a special key as 9AI, so what would be my URL, new URL would be this my base URL and 9AI. Now, like my friend comes and he wants to shorten his URL, and he again adds the special key as 9AI. So we don't want that. We can't redirect two different URL on the same using same endpoint, right? So what we will do is we will say that if a document is already present, you from this special key, then don't add. So what I'll say, if self dot db dot count. So I'll see that count documents, right? This I want to use this, and I want to use this. So what I'll do is I'll use this in my databases count documents, and I need to pass here the query. So what is my query? My query is special key, and I need to verify that this special key is not used. So a special key, if this count is greater than 0, that means there is already a document present, so we will return false. Okay, but if it's not present, then we will add the document. So we will define our document as, we will have two things. First, the special key, and it will be equal to the special key, and then we will have a URL which will be equal to the URL. Okay, now we need to insert this. So what I'll say is self dot db dot. So what I need is, now I need to insert this. So I'll write insert one, right? We have already used insert one, so we know that this is how it is used. And then I can write the query. Oh, I don't need to write the query. I need to just pass the document, and then I can say that now it is added successfully. So return true, right? So let's test our function, our insert URL function. What I can do here is I can define an object of this class. Let's say obj, which is of type URLs, right? So it is of type URLs. It needs a MongoDB collection, so I'll pass my collection here. And then what I can do is I can say obj dot insert URL, and I'll pass the special key as 9AI again to see that is it giving false or not. Okay, to check if it's giving, and I'll print out this because now we don't need them. Let's save this, and I need to print it also to see if what it is returning. So print this, right? Now I'll save this. I will run my file again to see if it's inserting or not, and it has returned false because 9AI special key is already there. But what if I change the special key to, let's say, KDP, and save it? If I run my Python file again, I can see it has returned true. Now if I go to my database and I refresh it, I can see that here is my document, KDP and 9AI.in, right? Now what I can do is I need another function to fetch the URL, that is the URL that needs to be redirected to using the special key. So I'll write def fetch URL. Okay, and then what I can say is it will need self, and now it needs a special key. It will return the URL that I need to be directed to. Okay, it will verify that from the DB. So what I can say is self dot db dot find one, and then I can say here is special key. Okay, and then this will come as a document, right? We are data, and I need only the URL part of this data. So I'll just return data URL part from the data, right? So now our fetch URL method should be there. Now I'll say fetch URL, and it just needs a special key, so I'll pass the special key as KDP, and we will see that what it will return. So it should return 9ai.in, right? So let me just see. See, it has returned 9ai.in. So we have our database setup done here. What we have done here is we have set up our database to add particular document to the database and to fetch data from the database. Now what type of document are there is? Our document is of type, it will have two different things, a special key and a particular URL that we need to be directed on. So what is our first method doing? Insert URL method. It is first checking if there is more data, like a special key already present in the database. If the special key is already present in the database, it will return false and it will not add the document. And what I can say here is I can get this into else, that if it's not greater than 0, then you implement this, right? So basically it will add the URL, right? It will add the document to the database, which will have a special key and the URL that we need to be redirected to. And then we have a fetch URL method from where if we enter a special key, we will get the original URL that needs to be redirected. So that's how we have set up our database. I hope you guys understood.